Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the gentlelady for yielding the time. I'd ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter from the National Task Force to End Sexual and Domestic Violence Against Women opposing the DeSantis-Roby Amendment.
Does the lady request to be? The request will be covered by general leave.
Thank you, and thank you again. As the founder and former executive director of the National Network to End Domestic Violence, I join the network of every state domestic violence coalition and the National Task Force to End Sexual and Domestic Violence Against Women in opposing this amendment. The issue really is very simple. Too often in cases of domestic violence, law enforcement show up at a home, they can't figure out what happened, both parties are arrested, and down the line, both plead to misdemeanor domestic violence offenses. This happens all the time, all around the country. For the victim, it may be because she just wants to get it out of the way or get it behind her or get back to her children, or she's been threatened with further violence by her abuser, or with her immigration status held over her head. Whatever the reason, it turns out that in too many of these circumstances, no one, not law enforcement or prosecutors or judges or even her attorney, if she's fortunate to have one, no one tells her that by pleading to the misdemeanor, her immigration status is threatened and she faces deportation. So this is not about fault. It just means that we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to domestic violence. It's why we reauthorized the Violence Against Women Act in the last Congress. And here's the harm. This amendment would prevent immigration authorities from looking beneath the surface in circumstances only of domestic violence offenses to make absolutely certain that we're not victimizing the victim twice by subjecting her to deportation. I urge my colleagues to vote no on this dangerous amendment that could result in additional violence and undoing what successive Congresses and presidents, Republicans and Democrats, have done for 20 years, afford fairness and protection for vulnerable immigrant women who are victims of domestic violence. And so let's get the facts straight. This is not about shielding perpetrators, it's about protecting victims. Our immigration deserve to take a second look when it comes to domestic violence. And I urge my colleagues to vote no, to do no harm and vote no on the DeSantis-Roby amendment.